welcome to the second episode of Autism to Aspies and Settee. Today's thing, we're going to be covering some recent news, and the main focus today is about myths and facts about autism. With Paul Wadey, myself, Daniel Smith, and my wife again, Helen. Due to we were going to have a guest, and unfortunately that guest had to pull out at the last minute. But we will try to get someone on the next show. Recent news. Just going to bring up what I had saved on Facebook, because it was easier to save the links on there than to try and print off loads and loads and loads of stuff, because there's lots. One of the main stories that came up on the internet this month was in the News Shopper, that in Lewisham, a Chinese medical stall, or store, pharmacy, whatever you like to call them, had claimed it's got the cure to autism.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. These people are now claiming, this shop in Lewisham is now claiming it has the cure to autism. I will bring up the thing and briefly show you. You, by all means, go onto Facebook, anywhere, just put News Shopper and look down and you can read the full report on there. But yes, this store, just try to get it up, it's so damn slow.
Internet's
It can be very difficult to do.
Internet is always slow around here.
That's what you're working with. But it's really satisfying when you get it. Oh, and there it is.
There you
Give
go.
us a flash.
Oh, that one!
There you go, that's the store. Lewisham shop conning parents by claiming the acupuncture special powder
Acupuncture.
will cure autism. I kid you not.
Cure autism with acupuncture and special powder. It's probably cocaine. And the woman who's exposing this is actually the lady who was going to be on the show today, but has a huge number of children, so couldn't make it at the last. Not she had another one, but she couldn't get a
Going to be
baby.
on the show today, unfortunately had to cancel. It was the person who had actually wrote this report about this shop, called Emma Dalmain,
Who is an international activist against crazy parents trying to poison their kids with bleach because they believe that autism is caused by gut intestine and worms and parasites. So they bleach their children's innards, they give them this mild poison solution, and the poor kids then pass out something from the lining of their intestines, and it's tissue and what have you, and it looks like actual worms and parasites. And it could well be the kind of thing that lives inside human beings. Sort of, I don't think parasites like that live in. You get cases, I've heard of parasites that could live inside a human being. There was one case I knew, a fellow I knew in the 80s said his father picked one up in South Africa, passed it, he had terrible illnesses for years, and then one day he passed this thing through his guts.
right.
And it toured the country forevermore, preserved this massive tapeworm, ringworm. I think if that story is true, he made a grand job of telling it, but he told a few tall stories. It was a great story though, but I don't believe such creatures exist in human. I mean, if they're in a cat, you give them a deworm them. But anyway, the idea is that they post pictures of what appears to be parasites that are coming out of their children's bowels. It's more like dead tissue from the lining. And they never seem to get this stuff tested. They get plenty of it. They put it in jars. Presumably keep it in the fridge, so you know, oh, this is, I think it's some kind of compote or something. Jam, you, whoa, you know, open it up, it's actually excrement and linings of children. And the kids get all sorts of ulcers and side effects, and it's kind of like chasing the dragon. You've got to get the right hit. Too little, you don't get the effect. Too much, you get a heroin overdose. And they're doing that with the kids, and the kids are getting over and they're upping the overdose. So this is attempted murder. And it's a very, I'm sorry, it's a very American thing. America seems to be the home of eugenicism, strong and the weak, the rich and the poor, neurotypical and the ill, because it's not neurotypical, it's a perversion. So Emma and her friend Fiona in Dublin campaigning tirelessly to stop these lunatics, and it's been on the TV, in the newspapers. She's internationally famous for her work. But poor old Emma's got 6 beautiful children to look after, and just couldn't get a babysitter.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
Well, hopefully we'll have her on the next show. Also in the news recently, Chris Peckham, had been interviewed by the news, and had been talking about being Asperger's and his depression, his suicide, and also his career. This is a good thing. I never knew he was Asperger's.
he's a naturalist, isn't he?
Yeah.
He likes animals.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there is. There's an interview on Daniel's phone which you can't see. But
you can look it up. It's.
Why don't you show it to the nice people on the camera, Daniel? He was on one of those. What was it?
It was on the BBC News. So you
in
can.
the day or the morning?
It was in the morning.
In the morning.
So
He
you'd be
dragged
able
him
to-
out of bed to talk about its great being. He said some brilliant things about neurodiversity. He really had a good take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
I never knew it was a special.
no, did
What
I,
we're doing
but-
now is on the BBC.
And it's good to have such a figure in the community.
Yeah, positive takes. Really
Yeah.
good news.
Yes, but he
Yeah.
doesn't like cats.
Oh well.
Well, you can't hold that against him.
Well, we're all cat owners and cat lovers. So as autistic people, we can be completely biased and bigoted because like self-centered,
Yep.
pathological. So.
Now, Paul here also put an interesting thing up about a movie that Ben Affleck has just appeared in called The Accountant.
Yeah, have you seen the trailer? It's unbelievable.
There's a trailer, you can find it online.
Oh, the accountant.
And where he plays an Aspie. Or
Yeah, an Aspie accountant is also some kind of killing machine. He owns sniper rifles and weapons, and he's trained to kill. And he's a little boy, and he's being bullied. And his father gets from the car and goes, "Son, you're not like other people because we're American. We don't, you know, we always discriminate. When you're neurodiverse, we stigmatise you from birth. We can't accept you just part of humanity." So he has a word with his dad, gets out of the car, goes back to the NT bullies and beats them up. And in later life, he ends up a very, very successful accountant with chronic OCD and a collection of weapons, and is obviously quite capable of killing people. And the film is some, presumably, he segues between his obsessive ability at accountancy and he's shooting people. And I don't know if he goes back to his old school and does this, or he goes around lots of different schools, or he's just shooting people generally. But he seems to be, he doesn't smile, Ben Affleck. Right, I've got to play an autistic person. You know, as opposed to Batman. You know, which is the difference between Batman and the Aspie. Batman isn't Batman is pretty OCD, you know.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Have you noticed when he's having his breakfast in the trailer, it's like 3 eggs. He's arranged, and he pulls out this drawer, there's a knife, fork, spoon. He's like, oh, you know, arrange. That's how autistic people are, folks, isn't it?
According to the little writing on the next to the trailer, synopsis is a math savant with a more affinity to numbers than people.
Yeah.
Behind the cover of a small town CPA office, he works as a freelance accountant for some world's most dangerous criminal organisations.
Because obviously he's autistic, he's sociopathic, he doesn't have conscience. And he works for the biggest bastards in the world.
Treasury Department and Crime Enforcement Division, run by Ray King. Starting to close in, Christian takes on the legitimate client and state-of-the-art robotics company where he's an accounting clerk and has discovered discrepancies involving millions of dollars. But Christian uncocks the books and gets closer to the truth in the body count as it starts to rise.
Body count starts to rise.
Yeah, but why is it a savant again?
Yeah, Rain Man, the whole fucking... It's basically that...
Language.
Sorry. It's
Kids, don't use words like that at home.
Yeah, my bad French.
You can believe yourself, right?
So it's basically they've gone, let's do Rain Man and give him a gun.
Yeah, Ninja Rayman, I love it. What kind of a bunch of is that?
Anyway, that was the news. Today's main show is going to be about...
Let's go, isn't it?
Today's main show is going to be about myths and facts about autism. Now, what we're going to be doing here is rather than just simply giving you one set of facts and things, we're going to actually do a comparison. We have here the National Autistic Society's own facts about autism and against the myths. We also have my favourite people, the people I hate the most, Autism Speaks. So
they are based in America, we have to point that one out.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to start off with the NSA.
No, the not the National Security Archive. The National Autistic Society.
Okay.
Of whom I am not a representative in any way, shape or form. All views and opinions are my own and those of my friends. Go on.
With that disclaimer put out, we're fine. Facts and statistics about autism, including many of the autistics are in the UK, and how many autistic people have learning disabilities, breakdown by gender, history of autism studied, and some common myths and facts of the condition. Now, I'm not going to read you all of it because there's a lot of number stuff, and it's not the main thing we were here to talk about. So I will get down to the facts part, which is here. Okay. Yep. Yeah, well, you see, you gave up before even getting reading. In 50 years ago, Leo Kanner described his classic autistic syndrome. Since then, the results and research of clinical work have led to broadening the concept of autistic disorders. In contrast, the estimates of prevalence increased considerably. 1943. The specific pattern of an abnormal behaviour first described by Lana Kinnan is also known as the early infantile autism. Kenner made no estimated of possible number of people with this condition, but thought it was rare. Over 20 years later, Victoria's
Secret.
Victor Lotter published the first results of an epidemiological study. It's a very long word.
Can I read it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Over 20 years ago, Victoria's Secret published the first results of an epidemiological... First take, let's go twice. Epidemiological study of children, didn't read that before, with behaviour patterns described by Kanner in the lingerie and former county of Middlesex, which gave an overall prevalence rate of sexy underwear of 4.5 per 10,000 children. So it doesn't mean the kids were wearing the Victoria's Secret stuff. It's kind of, the information was biased because it was, obviously another area. The triad of underwear in children with learning disabilities was first established. And what is it? You've got a lack of imagination in undies, you just wear black all the time. Yeah. And you have, difficulties in relating to other people's underwear. And what was the third one? Obsessive compulsive use of the same undies, so you don't change them, basically. So you've got black undies you're always wearing.
Isn't that most goths?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, then in 1979, Lorna Wing and Judith Gould examined the prevalence of autism. Now they were doctors. Lorna came first and helped to set up National Autistic Society about, was it 1961, and Judith Gould was her PhD undergraduate student, and so they connected, and Lorna was her supervisor. Okay. They examined the prevalence of autism as defined by Leo Kanner among children known to have special needs in the former London borough of Camberwell. And they found a prevalence in those with IQs under 70 of nearly 5 per 10,000 for this syndrome, closely similar to the rate found by Lotter, the underwear guy. However, as well as looking at children with Kanner autism, Wing and Gould also identified a larger group of children, about 15 per 10,000, who had impairments of social interaction, communication and imagination, which they referred to as the triad of impairments, together with a repetitive stereotype pattern of activities. Now, they always refer to our nature as a perversion of the normal. So the reason that we said that technically we have a disorder is because it was a psychiatrist first categorised us as a kind and defined, and they used the technical term disorder because we weren't neurotypical. And I've had a disagreement with someone about this only a few weeks ago. That you can be disabled by your autism, because that's relatively speaking, but we're not a disorder. It's like calling gay people perverts, which they did. There was, what was it, the World Health Organization used to have a code for gay people. They don't do that anymore. But at the moment we're still at the point at which we're a perversion of the normal. As you will see, America comes out as this weird eugenicist paradise, where they always have to see things in terms of strength and ability. They never got over winners and losers. The culture card, is it? So, let's read the next page. Although these children did not fit into the full picture of early childhood autism, bracket or typical autism, bracket as described by Canner, they were identified as being within the broader autism spectrum. Thus, the total prevalent rate for the spectrum in all children with special needs in the Camberwell study was found to be approximately 20 in every 10,000. See, the number keeps going up. This is 1979. In Gothenburg, Sweden, the fellow called Gilberg found very similar rates in children with learning disabilities. And it's always defined by... You don't want to read the whole thing, surely?
No, we were going to go to...
Bed. Yeah. We was here. Not now. It's the talk of underwear. Go on, sorry, go on down. Continue down.
It's a good job I know you so well.
It's a good job you know me so well. You can know me better, but we're not going there early.
Okay.
He knows me so well. Sorry, I've actually just seen an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical in a relaxed performance in Victoria, which is the house was full of autistic people. Literally hundreds of autistic people and their patronisers, be they parents or supporters. Right. All these things skim along to the musical Wicked, along the Wicked. Just come out of that.
Okay, so the National Autistic Society, these are the myths and facts that they have now come up with from all of that time in history of studying the condition. There's over 700,000 people in the UK. Got that, Cameron? More than 1 in 100 people false are often negative perceptions about the condition and their commonplace. This is a lack of understanding, make it difficult for people on the autism spectrum to have the condition recognised and to access the support that they need. Get that? We need that support. Misconceptions can lead to some autistic people feeling isolated. We've all been there. And alone.
No.
Anyway, in the extreme cases, it has also led to abuse and bullying.
You say things like that.
A lot of people that I've spoke to that are autistic have all said that they were bullied at school.
Autism affects more than 1 in 100 people. Fact. Over 700,000 people in the UK are autistic, which means that 2.8 million people have a relative on the autism spectrum. Get that, people? It's not one person you know, it's not 2 people you know, it's quite a lot. People tend to grow out of autism and into adulthood.
Now I'm in my 50s, I'm a perfectly normal person, as you can tell.
Myth. Unfortunately, it is a lifelong condition. Autistic children become autistic adults. Autism affects both boys and girls. Fact. There is a popular misconception that autism is simply a male condition. Female. This is false. Some autistic people don't speak. Fact. Some autistic people are non-verbal communicating, although this means, however, that autism is a spectrum condition, so everybody on this autism is different. And by the way, that previous one, yes, my wife here is autistic. Women do have them. Autism is a mental health problem. Myth. Autism is a developmental disability. This is difference in how often your brain works. Autistic people can have a good mental health or experience mental health problems just like anyone else. All autistic people are geniuses.
Or at least able to get by on their powerful
They like
erotic
to
presence.
think. This is a myth.
Do that again.
Just under half of
Not
the
in my
people.
case, you speak for yourself. I've got a high opinion of myself. Somebody's asked it.
Just under half the people who are diagnosed with autism also have a learning disability. Others have a high IQ, in the average to above average range. They are the savants, aka the Rain Man thing.
Can I explain what it is about me? Is that I spent 2 days being tested by a
Those are
trained
rare.
clinical psychologist. They are rare. And what I found was that my memory faculties, I think due to my ADHD nature, are sub-average. They are actually scoring incredibly low. They're abnormal memory faculty,
Right.
which would make me, in some respects, have a proper learning difficulty where education is subnormal. My IQ came in at top 0.3 of the population, which is probably because I spent my whole life having to work hard to compensate for this weird. It's like I did too many drugs. It's like you've had a brain injury and a crash.
Yeah.
So I represent the paradox. You know, what is the net result? Is it a stupid person or an intelligent person, a competent person or an incompetent person?
So you,
So
yeah,
that's
because it's
typical
like
autism, yeah.
it's like for me, yeah. My disability is the inability to put what's in my head out through my mouth or onto
Right.
paper.
Yeah,
But yet, when I have been tested on an IQ score,
yeah.
I have actually hit in the much more higher range to being like beyond the average.
Yeah.
But it's like being basically a genius and not being able to actually
So
say or
it's
do
really-
anything
yeah,
about
so
it.
the net result is low.
Yeah,
But inside yourself, you've got this high.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. Everybody is a bit of autistic. Myth. While everyone might recognise some autistic traits or behaviour in people they know, to be diagnosed with autism, a person must consistently display the behaviours across all the different areas.
We have a thing I talked about called ASDAR, autistic gator. We know our own kind, so just before I see a lot of people who think I couldn't relate to, they're making stimming gestures,
Yeah.
they're making noises, they're getting overwhelmed by the space they're in. It's usually... No, I could relate to all that, it's just that it's been 11 years since I got diagnosed, sort of deprogramming from the whole I am a neurotypical, I'm a neurotypical. Convincing yourself is something when you know.
Yeah.
And we all have the same things inside us, but it's all about how well we get on top of our natures.
Yeah.
And I'm describing nation talk. Yeah, it's as simple as that. You know, we share common characteristics, and to be autistic, you've got to have enough of enough magnitude at the same time.
Yeah.
You see the characteristics, and that's really, it's not even tests. It's actually a friend of mine, a woman I know, finally got a diagnosis from the Maudsley. And talking to her, I said, well, you're just presenting so much with the lack of eye contact and the monotone voice, the way you relate yourself, and super intelligent, speeding head. But at the same time, there's comorbidity because, you know, you have a hell of a time finding people to get close to you can relate to, finding environments in which you can relate to. And I hope to have the same lady on the show. I'm not saying that it is.
Fair enough. That's good. Okay, now, the facts and myths you heard then was from the National Society. You can find it on the internet quite easily.
They're the good guys. Right?
They're the good guys. They're the ones you should be listening to. Now, from America, Autism Speaks. They've actually said there's 11.
Can I
Yeah, I'm going to let Paul read the first 5.
Number 1, I won't use an American accent. People with autism don't want friends. Truth. If someone in your class, and I don't know, I assume they're talking about school class rather than like working class, you know, lower class. If somebody, because you don't talk to somebody of a lower class in America,
Nope.
has autism, They probably struggle with social skills, which may make it difficult to interact with peers. They might seem shy or unfriendly, but that's just because he or she is unable to communicate their desire for relationships the same way you do. Because all neurotypicals have desires for relationships the same way. They, what do the relations do? Autistic people often, they make you sick. Look at this. He never lets me do it. They're unique people. Some of them don't want bloody friends. Others want a form of friend that doesn't really exist because they've got a unique sort of abstract contract. Some people, like my wife for example, was perfectly happy with no friends at all, but ended up picking up friends because she spends her whole life giving to other people and being so generous and caring of everybody that people came to her simply because she was such a saint, in her case I would say, a bodhisattva. And she's got a large collection of friends with the religious group she's with. And of course met me, and I was faced with this utterly monolithic personality, this woman of absolute integrity who could not and would not moderate herself or change herself in any way to suit me, who cannot and would not. She would be kind and generous and giving and sharing, but you can forget it if you think she's going to remotely budge as a person. I married her as fast as I could because the integrity is just incredible. This is a Christian who tolerates being married to a Buddhist who really does not believe in God. I try to keep it quiet how Buddhist I am, in that I really seriously not somebody who could accept a creator. You have to be very careful about it. And that's what autistic people like. It's about friendships and relate. Well, we have ASDA, so we have empathy. But what autism speaks seems to be saying is a kind of propaganda thing to make ignorant neurotypicals, adolescent neurotypicals, be nice to us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Are
that's
you allowing your wife to speak, or does she just sit there smiling?
Just smile and nod.
Just smile and nod, Helen. Right.
Good girl.
Good girl, he says. Love, dear, darling, in other terms of gender patterns.
I wear the trousers in this marriage.
And very baggy girl too. Yeah, but Helen's got trousers on as well. I feel confused. You've got those bloody things. She's got proper jeans. So
Yeah, I'm just comfortable.
Well, we're all comfortable on this side. Right. Wow. Would Helen like to read number 2?
People with autism can't feel or express any emotion, happy or sad. It's a myth.
Fascinating.
Live long and prosper.
Exactly.
Truth. Autism doesn't make an individual unable to feel the emotions you feel. It just makes the person communicate emotion and perceive your expressions in different ways.
So we will be blowing that out. Now, Paul. See, emotional thing. Okay, number 3. Myth. People with autism can't understand the emotions of others. Truth, according to them. Autism often affects the individual ability to understand an unspoken interpersonal communication. So someone with autism may not detect the sadness based on solely on the one body language or sarcasm in the one tone of voice. But when the emotions are communicated more directly with the autism, are more likely to feel the empathy and compassion of the others. So basically, it's somewhat true, isn't it? We depending on the person and the person with the Aspie as well, they might not always pick up certain body language or tones.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah,
it's somewhat true.
Yeah, it's true.
It's somewhat true. So I'll give him that one. That is a very good description to that part. Okay, you want to read number 4?
People with autism are intellectually intellectually disabled. Truth. Oftentimes, autism brings with it just as many exceptional abilities as shortcomings. Many people with autism have normal to high IQs, and some may excel at maths, music, or another pursuit, presumably pursuing people you're stalking or have an obsession with. Well, it's like you have to have a justification in life to be a valid American citizen. The DSM-5 is a list of criteria for autism. It's all failings.
Yeah.
But I keep asking, well, where's the criteria for being neurotypical?
Yeah.
And what you need to do is invert the DSM-5 list, and you get a template for what America wants from its citizens: a purebred, Aryan, competent, capable, voting adult. They have very particular perspectives. They never write that. And I've talked to academics, and they say they can't find one template for a neurotypical. There's only ever definitions of us, and they are all in terms of failings compared to some kind of wonderful ideal that actors make a living in typifying in films, really.
Okay, Helen.
Okay, go on.
Number 5.
5. People with autism are just like Dustin Hoffman's character in Rain Man.
Got the baby at the bathroom. Got the baby at the bathroom.
I like the dance.
I like the dance.
I like to dance.
I like the dance.
I like to dance. So, okay.
Autism is a spectrum disorder, meaning its characteristics vary significantly from person to person. Knowing one person with autism means just that, knowing one person with autism. His or her capabilities and limitations are no indication of the capabilities and limitations of another person with autism. Why don't they just turn around and say that everyone's an individual?
I know.
Did they really need to draw that out?
They can't handle it. They can't handle it. It's always got to be paraphrased in respect to the culture. Yeah, why can't they just say everyone's an individual?
Yeah. Number 6. Myth. People who display the qualities that may be typical of a person with autism are just odd and will grow out of it. Truth. Autism stems from a biological condition that affects the brain development, and many of the individuals it's a lifelong condition. Again, they seem to have, obviously they've taken what the NAS put, so that's quite clearly true. I think this is about where NAS kind of finishes, really.
Mm-hmm.
The next several facts would say that comes out from this are probably made up or assumed.
What?
Yeah. So number 7, I will read this because this is going to make you laugh, and I'm going to let Paul have a nice opinion about this one.
Can I read it?
Sure, if you want to, Paul.
Myth. People with autism will have autism forever. Oh. Truth. Recent research has shown that children with autism can make enough improvement after intensive early intervention, which Autism Speaks sell, to test out of the autism diagnosis. This is more evident for the importance of addressing autism when the first signs appear. Well, that's just a selling angle for a start. This whole thing about get them young, teach them tricks, give them drugs, get them stoned, and teach them more tricks until they can look like a neurotypical, so test out of the autism. What that means is they're still autistic, but they can look like us, really. A friend of mine who's a researcher reckons that so-called high-functioning autistic people who can do neurotypical really well are in the majority. And it's actually a minority of the sort of vulnerable autistic people, actually, because we're on top of our nature. There are also different communities on the spectrum, ranged in relation to neurotypical. Some very bad, overwhelmed by their own natures, Cancer syndrome, will always need support in their lives. Problematic people who often destroy the very minds, the hearts of the family that brought them up. And then you get people who just need support, and you get people who have issues coping with the world, and then you can get people like us on a scale of success, things you can get together, jobs, relationships, home, cars, driving, so on. Then you get parents on the scale as well, I think, neurotypical parents with or without mental health issues caused by having autistic children. And then you get parents who are autistic, you know. So it's a whole spectrum. Testing out, it's very naive, it's typical of the total naivety of autism speaks, that they just don't really understand. And yet the weird thing is, on the quiet, I went to talk to them, we've always gone about this, September, October 2009, and met Peter Bell and Mark Serkin, and the Vice President of Autism Speaks, and they actually knew the score full well, like we do.
Yeah.
But they had a particular brief and a particular job, and they have a particular angle from their funders, so they say one thing to me and another thing to other people. Actually, I think in the future, in the next few decades, Autism Speaks could end up just like the National Autistic Society. They are the one bunch of people in autism who have a plan B and a plan C. They could completely change the whole attitude to autism, but right now they are this naive. It's great, isn't it?
Okay.
Look at that moggy.
Alan?
Oh.
Unless you want me to do it.
Which one are we
Number
reading?
8 now, darling.
Number 8.
Yeah.
Myth: autism is just a brain disorder. Truth: research has shown that many people with autism also have gastrointestinal disorders, food sensitivities and allergies. I'd actually say that that's quite true.
I have bad bowels. No, really, yeah. It's
No,
not
I
a disorder. Again, I've gone over that. What it is they have MRI scans that showing that we are a hereditary race because we have certain characteristics in our brains. But because that's not neurotypical, they call that a perversion of the normal. It's exactly the same thing as calling gay people perverts. Because it's all in relation to being heterosexual as being everything. There are some autistic people I've met, non-sexual. They don't bother with sexuality. They identify as not being interested in that as a community. And it's the same thing with neurodiversity and neurotypical.
Yeah.
We're always seen as this handicap perversion, so the more you can triumph. I mean, if you're going to be in a job in neurotypicals, you've got to be better than in neurotypicals. We've heard all this before from women in the workplace, in the glass ceiling. It's that simple, really. Whatever, I'll always say this on the films, or whatever autistic people are facing now as a community,
Yeah.
women and gay people faced it first, and they're writing and thinking.
Yeah.
And it shows this. You know.
Very true. Myth number 9. Autism is caused by bad parenting. You hear that? Bad parenting, according to the Americans.
Yeah.
Truth. In the 1950s, a theory called the refrigerator mother hypothesis arose, suggesting that autism was caused by mothers who lacked the emotional warmth, and this had long been disproved. So basically they are blaming parents, and due to the fact that there were some parents who had difficulty connecting to their child in the way that they wanted to, or a way that they should expect it to, and therefore was the cause of the ability of, or the disorder of autism to come into existence.
Yeah, the Leo Kanner thing, because there's so many parents, obviously mothers on the spectrum, they didn't have any other way of categorising autistic women in those days, but nobody says that.
Yeah.
You know, rational, systematic, don't subscribe to gender ID, you know, because there was this huge sexist projection that's been going on to the last part of the 20th century. Feminists call it practically a conspiracy against women in history. You know, that you had to be a certain kind of wife, mother, virgin, whore. That it was all ridiculous. Individuals weren't empowered to be themselves. And nowadays, this autistic women are skewing gender ID altogether. Just think it's stupid, it's naive, you know.
Yeah.
So they had to be a psychological reason for this. Bettelheim reckoned it was parenting. That's where it comes from.
Well,
I love these cats. Well, which one's
number 10. Mate.
Thank you, darling. The prevalence of autism has been steadily increasing for the last 40 years. It has, actually. The rate of autism has increased by 600% in the last 20 years. Well, that's what they know about. Actually, there's always been autistic people that either got farmed off to homes where they died, or they died, or they were like us. The truth's coming out now. Actually, that's 700,000 in the UK. Every autistic person I saw, at least one parent with them was obviously could be or definitely was on the spectrum. You have to multiply that by 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Really, and all the autistics don't look so much like autistics. And then it goes on to say in 1975 an estimated 1 in 1,500 had autism. In 2009 an estimated 1 in 110 had an autism spectrum disorder. Okay, myth number 11. Oedipus.
I won't do the insurance one.
Yeah, Oedipus.
Okay.
Hello, kitty.
It's a purely American thing.
You can never go rawr, I suppose.
But that's the last one, darling.
Yeah, but this is
I'm playing with this cat on the floor.
autism awareness one.
Oh, okay.
8 myths and realities about the spectrum disorder.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
Stroking the cat.
Go ahead.
Autism is a form of mental illness. They're saying that's a myth.
Really?
Yeah.
They're saying that apparently, Paul,
Good heavens,
that
Daniel! Isn't that
our
wonderful?
condition, it's a myth.
It's
This
a
is the
myth.
autism awareness group.
This is the Autism Awareness Group.
Is this Autism Speaks or who's this?
Autism Awareness Group.
Have a look. What Autism Awareness Group?
Apparently they've...
What does it say there? Myth.
Autism
Awareness, 8 myths and realities about the autism spectrum disorder. That's what it says, autism awareness, right?
Yeah, and Helen's got the first one and it says...
Autism, this is the myth number 1. Autism is a form of mental illness.
Ah,
Reality, autism spectrum disorders are considered a group of developmental and neurological disorders, as brain scans and studies show that people with an ASD have abnormalities in both brain structure and neurotransmitter levels. I thought it couldn't be tested.
Paul, what's your opinion
It's
on that?
MRI scans is what they're talking about. Can I have a look?
Yeah, sure.
It's the usual nonsense. It's people with abnormalities. What they mean abnormalities is characteristics that we all share on the sofa that most people don't have. It's practically neo-fascist eugenicist language.
No, but they're saying that there's abnormal.
Yeah, I know there's something wrong.
On the actual brain itself.
Yeah, that's what they mean, that there are deformities and abnormalities that define us, but we still share them, and look at us. You know, are we a perversion of the normal? We are technically a mental illness. The idea is that if these bits were functioning the way they are supposed to, then you'd be cognitively, intellectually unimpaired. Actually, I don't think that's the right model. I think it's more like we have certain characteristics that define us.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have those characteristics, would we be like more optimum functional? You see what I'm saying? So neurotypical is actually neurofascist. You can be really capable. It just keeps coming back to how well you can do stuff and how well your brain can do stuff.
Okay.
It's interesting. And if it came, if
Well,
it
what's
has
myth number 2 about then?
Okay, autism is only a brain disorder. Reality: many people diagnosed with an ASD also have gastrointestinal problems, food sensitivities, and many allergies.
So they're basically just taking that from Autism Speak then on that part. Wow.
So which autism awareness group is this? Who are these people in this?
I believe they are from America as well.
So it's just some weird website you found?
Yeah.
There's a lot of these things on
And
the
this
internet.
is part of the reason why we're doing these videos as well, to show you our opinions and to also point out idiots like these.
It's crazy stuff.
Their number myths go. Myth number 3: only boys have autism. Again, they've pointed that one out. They've gone and said that in reality, girls have autism too. Oh wow, they actually have some intelligence then. And spectrum disorders occur across all ethnic groups, all economical backgrounds, and all age groups. That said, they mark the differences among each group. The Centre of Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC.
They're the only people who quantify this information.
Yeah.
All the frames of reference are medical negative, because there's no one else, apart from people like us come along, who are self-advocates.
Yeah.
There's no National Council for Autistic Culture. The attempts at self-advocacy, as we always say, there's only one left in the UK, and that's a scam, basically. It's in the north and it's run by an alcoholic gunman. So there's no sort of proper body of self-advocacy. There's only individuals like ourselves coming together to make a positive representation and make sense of the situation. We don't have anything official that says we're like gay people, basically. Or women. Originally they were an oppressed minority.
Monitors and prevention of the ASD is selected to communities and then make general estimates from there. Founded in 1 in 68 children has ASD at the age of 8, 1 in 42 boys and 1 in 189 girls. White children are almost 30% more likely to be diagnosed than black children, and almost 50% more likely than the Hispanic children. Again, this is America, so I would not take that to something as true here. Everybody, I think, across the whole lot, regardless, are tested anyway. Number 4 says autism is diagnosed with a medical test. Reality, there is no medical test for autism. Instead, physicians and other specialists simply evaluate behaviour, generally through medical tests are performed on the order to identify and rule out possible physical causes of the symptoms. Behavioural symptoms include failing to make eye contact, not responding to his or her name. Paul!
No!
Paul!
No!
Paul!
No! What was that?
Rocking motion.
Help! Help! Somebody shouted at me, but I'm not looking at them.
And playing with toys in an unusual, repetitive ways.
Oh Christ, I've ruined the TARDIS. Look at this. No, don't worry, you can put them back on. It's just part of the main shaft, as it were, you know.
Yeah.
The dematerialisation mechanism goes up and down. Playing with toys in an unusual way. Ooh. I'm not biting the TARDIS. Absolute blasphemy.
That one's already been pointed
Is this playing with
out.
toys
I
in
like
an
myth
unusual way?
Go on then, darling. You read myth number 6.
Autism is caused by vaccines.
This is true.
Reality. No one really knows what causes it. For most individuals with an ASD, no one cause can be identified, and genetics alone cannot distinguish a person with autism from someone without the disorder. The National Institutes of Health suggests that a genetic predisposition most likely exists, while environmental components is also in play.
Now, environmental components is something that the vax people come out with. They're playing games. You got like 10 elements to a picture. The anti-vaxxers take one element, blow it up into 100 sub-elements, and then pick on 2 or 3 of those to make their point. It's a cheap little kind of undergraduate's trick at winning an intellectual argument. It's a nasty, bitchy, stupid thing to try to get your way. I've had it done to me as part of a passive-aggressive attack,
Right.
where people think you're basically unable to relate to what people are doing to you. It's a coercive form. They haven't got anything. They're just fantasies, basically. The proof that the anti-vaxxers have murky people is basically science fiction writing, where you start with the conclusion, you work back to develop the plot. And all these people, without exception, believe themselves to be a small, brave resistance group fighting to save children from an oppressive organisation that collectively known as Big Pharma, multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical corporations who are paying off governments, and there's a conspiracy. All these people believe that there is a conspiracy to hide the truth, because you get cracks in the fantasy caused by reality. The wallpaper over it, oh, it's a conspiracy.
So they'll be the same people that believe in little green men then?
Yeah, originally, that's very interesting you should say that. Originally I saw all this kind of behaviour long before I knew about all this business. With conspiracy theorists and flying saucers, JFK assassination. That's where I've seen all this behaviour, and that's turned up with these basically mad parents who, the child is a vaccination, and their autism becomes apparent. They were autistic in the first place, but they were kind of like us, and then their vaccination, and the truth comes out of what difficulties, you know, their nature becomes relatively hardcore, and then they say, oh, it was brought about by the vaccine. So there's an experience happening we don't understand, basically. of how their autism becomes apparent. And until we do, all these parents, that is the road to Damascus point. That's what it is that sends them loopy, and they start believing in people like Andrew Wakefield, Polytomy, and all the other liars, basically. And they read the books that these people put out because they were formerly medical types, like Wakefield. The thing with Wakefield was that a woman I was in school with, she, as a solicitor, works for British Medical Council, said the majority, all these doctors, the reason the majority of doctors get struck off, get into trouble, is because they become egomanic. They start thinking they know better. Wakefield, kind of middle-aged man, he was consultant this, honorary that in the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead, and he started thinking he knew better, so he got a group of children, famously at a party, and he got full permission of the parents. He did test them, they were harmless, but technically speaking, he may as well have been pulling out fingernails and sort of ramming screws into their bodies, because he did it without any reference to proper clinical behaviour. That's what happened, you see. Yeah. So that's why he was struck off, and he remains struck off as well. He could have done anything to those kids, the way he behaved. Nobody seems to realise this. Yeah. So that's the anti-vaxxers. They're sanctimonious. They are a law greater than God. And
so he's a bad man then?
Oh, he's a very bad man. But
he's a bad man.
In America, he's hiding in Texas. And there's bloody idiots there, I believe he's a martyr and whatever. And there was a TV show made about him, believe it or not, by some bloody stupid production company. And I'll tell you why it was made, not because there's truth in all this, is because people they convince have loads of money. There's the backs of those money. Now some idiot in America is talking about making a Hollywood caliber, like a 35mm motion picture of the tale of Wakefield. I'm not kidding, it's not going to end. That man, however old he is now, late 40s, early 50s, sometimes in his 70s or 80s, if he makes it that far, it's not going to end well for him. He's not got a good future to look forward to.
Well, let's start rounding this up, folks. So today we have covered recent news in regards to a crazy pot shop in Lewisham who claim to have the cures, and we also
what?
We
pull
also
it off, pull it off. You can do it.
We also covered the fact that we have now got a celebrity, Chris Packham, as an autistic celebrity, an Aspie. Out. Good for him. And we have clearly shown across the board a lot of the facts and myths in autism, and to show you, to make up basically your own mind whether you want to believe one lot or the other. But I would
carry on.
I would suggest
hold it together. You're a pro.
I would suggest carrying on reading and looking over the NES ones, because they're the ones that are the most closest to the actual truth of what autism is like. Other than that, get to know an Aspie. I've been Daniel Smith, this has been Paul Wadey, and this has been Helen Smith. Yeah, bye.